Welcome to the Thriving Artist Podcast, where we share strategies and support for artists to thrive.
We know that the art world can feel like a lonely place, and we want to provide a network of support, impactful strategies, and an abundance of encouragement to help you grow your authentic art career.
We're your hosts. I'm Jamie Smith.
And I'm Kaylan Butine, and we are also the co-founders of the Thrive Together Network, a community of female and non-binary identifying artists and artists who are caregivers.
We truly believe in community over competition, and we're so glad you're here. Enjoy this episode.
Welcome to another episode of the Thriving Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Kaylan Butine, and I currently sell original works on canvas and some small quilts.
I'm Jamie Smith, your other host, and I currently offer original artwork on paper and some prints of my work as well. And we are so excited to share this episode. It's 5 steps to have multiple income streams as an artist. It's a bit of a mouthful, but we're really excited about it. So, Kaylan, what do we mean when we say multiple income streams? That does not sound very arty.
It doesn't sound very arty, but I think it sounds exciting to me because who doesn't want multiple ways to bring in money, right? Which is really what we mean, where you're not just making money from direct sales of one original piece of artwork, but maybe you have some different ways of bringing in income. Maybe you do some prints, maybe you do some teaching, maybe you bring, print your work on some products that you sell. Maybe you give artist talks that you're paid for. Maybe you license your work. There's lots of ways to have multiple income streams. And in this episode, we're going to kind of talk through some steps for you to process which ones may be right for you or not.
Well, it's so true because what we've learned through the network and working with so many artists is that in some ways there's almost too many options for how you could create income. And what the hard part is figuring out what makes sense for you as an artist, your business, your customers, and where do you want to put your time? And often that comes with an investment of money just to get started with these things. So what is going to work for you is kind of our big question and how we sort of guided this episode, I would say.
Yeah, and I think the easiest thing as an artist is to use the term that you've taught me, distractunities, to kind of get caught up in things that seem like opportunities, but maybe they're distractions. And, we really want you to have a lot of clarity around the decision making for where you put your time and where you put your effort. Because there's lots of things that sound like a great idea. Like it sounds like a really good idea to sell prints of my work. It sounds like a good idea to make little mini keychains or whatever it is. But actually to, start that whole process, to make prints of your work from A to Z, there's a lot of steps involved, and maybe that whole process isn't how you want to spend your time, right? So we really have created 5 easy steps to help you figure out what income streams would work for you and your business. Jamie, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, and just to add to that really quick is that I think a popular term is passive income, which sounds amazing because I think we all work really hard as artists to make the work and then get it out there, and nothing feels very passive about what we do. But I will say that I have come to believe that nothing actually is passive. All of it takes an investment of time and energy and often some money to get things going, and then you have to keep it going and make sure it works. And so these 5 steps are really going to help you know where you want to put that energy. So our step number 1 is to look outward. So what we mean by this is to actually look at artists that you admire that have multiple income streams in their business. And one thing when you're looking at these artists, we really encourage you to find evidence that they are selling these multiple income streams. So it's one thing to have many of them set up. I will tell you that takes a lot of time, and I commend artists that are working to get these things set up, but we want to make sure that there's actually customers to buy those things and that they're actually working. So we have some questions to kind of go through as you're finding artists. We want you to find 2. and really spend the time to research. So that's looking at their Instagram, that's looking at their website, that's actually going on and saying, okay, what if I buy a print? How would I get, is it an online store? How am I going to get the print? Really spending some time. So this isn't just looking and saying, oh, I like their work. This is actually kind of researching their business models. So we want to look at is, why do I admire how this artist is putting in the work? These why questions are really key because they're getting to the heart of what you care about. And that's what we're trying to learn. What income streams do they have? So write that all out. What seems to be going well? Why do I think this is going well? What evidence do I see? What do I not like about how they're putting their art in the world, and why? Again, getting to the heart of the things that you don't want to do. Like Kaylan mentioned making keychains. Well, that would be very different than the work that Kaylan, you make. So you'd have to make smaller. There's a lot of things there that you as an artist might just be, that's not where I want to put my time and how I want my art in the world. And then the question is, what systems are they using to get the art in the world? So what I mean by that is, for prints, are they having these all printed in-house and then they send them to you from their studio? Is it drop shipping? So it's through another company that does all the shipping for them. Because let's say this went really well, how are you going to keep up with getting these prints out into the world? And how do they market each income stream? Because that is part of this as well, is that we need to then follow through and make sure we have a plan to keep telling people we sell prints now and to keep getting that out in the world. So you're going to find 2 artists and that you really admire, and you're going to go through this process of really researching and taking notes about this whole experience that they're offering.
And I'll just say too that this might take some time, right? Like this could be a quarterly project that you do, or even taking 6 months and kind of, putting some goggles on and really going for like researching into this artist. I would just bring up to a point that you mentioned, Jamie, that one way to get a good customer experience from an artist you admire is to actually buy something from them, right? So you really get to see, oh, what's their kickback email like? What does their packaging look like when they ship me a print or a keychain or an original piece of art, right? Kind of really getting your hands dirty and investing in that artist a little bit so that you feel good about doing that research and about supporting them. So let me move us to step number 2, and that is to look inward. So after you've done all this research, right, now you want to take that information and think about your own life and your own practice and what you like to do. Your art practice is really about you and your own artistic dreams. So if you're adding new products and ways to sell your work, we really want them to feel good to you. We want you to look at your notes of what those other artists are doing and answer a few more questions. So we have some questions to help you reflect on this. We want you to ask yourself, how do I want to present my work in the world, right? What forms would make me proud? What forms of getting my art out there in the world would make me proud? Is it prints? Is it t-shirts? Is it only original work? What are your feelings around that and why? How do I not want my work to exist in the world? Maybe you never want to see your work on a t-shirt or a water bottle or a sticker, right? And why is that? Like maybe do some writing about that.
Well, and to that question, I think it's really important. I took a course on licensing my work, and I wanted to understand that. And one of the biggest takeaways I had is something with licensing, you don't have any control where that work lands. So often you have a licensing agent, and that could be on a billboard for a company that you don't agree with at all, or it could be an awesome company that you're so excited for. You have to be open. You're giving away that license. That's not always the case. Sometimes you can have much more control, but it's stuff to think about. How do you not want your work in the world, and what position do you want to put yourself in so that you have a bit more control if that is important to you?
Absolutely. And, obviously in future steps, you're going to think literally more through how you're going to spend your time. But I think that is a big part of this too, like really honoring where we want to spend our time and what we want to do with our time. It connects to these ideas of multiple income streams, right? So we really have to think about what we value, what we honor, and what we want our work to say, and the position that we want our work to have in the world, before we kind of make these big decisions and invest in setting up these new systems, because they're a lot of work and we want to make sure you do it in very purposeful ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, doing these first two steps I think are very key. It's easy to skip to step number 3. So step number 3 is create your vision. And I think this is where a lot of artists start, is sort of this roadmap of the income streams. But we really believe that having that time to do your research and think through your own wants and needs will make this way more useful, because what we're going to do now is kind of use what we've just done to make our plan. So I created a business planning class for artists on Skillshare. It's where I teach. It's one of my income streams. And in that class, I call your sort of income streams your offerings. And I kind of like this idea of that we're offering these different things out into the world. And we're offering things that we want our customers and our people around us to want and to buy. So we want to look at our notes, and then we want to think of where we're at now. So we've just done this where we looked inward and we've said, this is what we offer now. The next thing we're going to do is what we want to offer in the future. This is our roadmap. And the key thing here is to try to put them in order of what you care about most, because this is what you're going to kind of launch first. We actually don't want, and we're going to talk about this coming up, we don't want to launch everything at once. We want to take this a little slower, which we're going to talk about. So by putting this list of what we want to launch in order of what we care about is really going to help. On your piece of paper, you're also going to write down what we call your parking lot. So we use this a lot in our Thriving Artist map. We have this workbook that we go through for the whole year, and we often put this idea of the parking lot. And the parking lot is a place to just dump your ideas. These aren't priorities. These aren't things that you're going to focus on. These are things that if you have time, they would be great. They're things that maybe 2 years down the road, you're going to think that was a good idea. I'm going to go back to that. But it's to get it out of your head, to not be dwelling on it, and put it somewhere. And it's very freeing, I will say, to just have a place where these things exist. So what we're getting out of this part is creating our vision, is what we want to offer in the future and the order of importance of these things.
And you already mentioned this, Jamie, but step number 4 is to move slow. So we want to start slow. We want to be slower in our decision making so we don't get overwhelmed so quickly and kind of invest our money and our time in places that aren't really valuable to us. And then we want to move slow in building some of these systems and processes out. So as you work on that list in order of importance, you want to make sure you're really thinking through each new offering, thinking from A to Z what that would involve for you. And here's some questions that you can use to help you work through that process. So what product do you need to source? How will you price this product in relation to your original work, right? If you're still going to plan to sell original work alongside, a product type piece of your work, those prices need to kind of be in conversation. They need to make sense. How will you market your new offering? And how is that marketing going to either compete with or work with, again, marketing original work, right? So all of these things have to kind of go in conversation. They have to be in an ecosystem that hopefully works together rather than sort of taking away from each other. How will people make an order? What is, your system for that? Maybe you already have that set up, but what will that look like for this product-based stuff? How are you going to get the product to them? Are you going to do drop ship? Are you going to buy 1,000 t-shirts and then have a shelf where you store them all? And then every time there's a t-shirt, purchased, you have to pack it up yourself and take it to the store. Been there, done that. Don't recommend it, but might be great for you. how will you get that product to them, and where will you store that product if you are buying it completely yourself? How will you complete the customer journey, right? What are some of the special touches, the final 5% that you're going to put on, your shipping? Also, after you send that t-shirt or new product to your person, maybe a year from now, are you going to have a follow-up system? Are you going to collect their information so you can send them a postcard and you can remind them about you? There's just so many steps. Maybe A to Z doesn't even cover it. I don't know. But working through all of these questions, I think, can help you get that new offering out in the world. But we just want you to do it with a lot of intention, to go slow so that you don't get incredibly overwhelmed in the process and put too much pressure on yourself to do too much too fast, right?
Yeah, and too many things isn't a good thing either. So this is our last step, is number 5, is assess as you go. So we highly recommend you do not offer another new offering until you have launched one successfully and made a few sales. You have your system kind of tweaked and you're kind of assessing to make sure that it's all working. We don't want to overwhelm, typically a smaller customer base. We have these patrons, and selling art in general can be hard. And it can also feel really easy. It comes and goes just like in all small businesses. But what we really don't want to do is offer a bunch of new things that maybe aren't a fit, something doesn't work, and we want to go slow. We want to go slow. We want to assess. And so finding a way that you're going to track your new offering, how are you going to know if this is a success? And are you going to sort of feel that success of, I have a new way of getting my art in the world? And this all takes time, which typically we're very all about get going, get to work. But we actually believe this is the opposite of that. This is a process. We would love to see you offer one new thing so well that you never have to offer a bunch more, because it's a lot of time and effort to put into this research and get this going. So we're excited for you, and we hope these steps are going to make a difference in that.
I've had multiple income streams in my mind for a while. There's those ideas that come up and I put them on my parking lot and I might, chew on them a little bit. But I think even the effort of thinking through what that income stream is going to look like, how I'm going to implement it into my studio practice and into my life, it helps me clarify, kind of what I want to do. And I think, what we're all about here is just helping you be the best artist you can be, and helping you live the life of an artist that you want to live, right? And so many of us, we have limited time, we have limited resources. So we hope that our encouragement always helps bring you closer to that vision of how you want to spend your time and what you want to do, instead of just kind of pushing you towards the next shiny new thing that is often easier to promote and easier to talk about. So we do have regular monthly meetups on the Thrive Together Network, where we have an art business section where once a month, Jamie and I are teaching about stuff like this, where we go through practical ways to kind of learn some art business techniques. There's a wide range of stuff we talk about on there. We would love to have you participate in those. You can try out the Thrive Together Network for 2 weeks and see what you think. You can learn more at thrivetogethernetwork.com. But these art business workshops that we host once a month are just included in your membership. They're of no additional cost.
And last month, I actually worked with a group of artists that came and we mapped out offerings. And it was just really neat to do this process with other artists, because we get so stuck in our own head of what we should do. So we did this together. And then next month, the next workshop coming up, Kaylan is going to go through time blocking, looking at our week, planning our week out. So it's just nice. These are all things that I've had on my list to think about. And it's nice to have this 45-minute block to show up, meet up with others and talk about that. So that, again, you can find all of that at the thrivetogethernetwork.com. Sign up for the network, and then it's all included, which is really exciting. This was one of our new offerings Kaylan, that we
Yep.
put in. It didn't provide a new income stream, let's say, because that wasn't the point. We wanted to provide a new service to our members. So that's another way of doing this. If thinking about your customers are customers first, what are they looking for? What do they need? And then working on a new offering backwards through them. So lots of ways to do this. We hope this was helpful. As always, we are here for you. We are cheering you on, and we believe in the work that you're doing as thriving artists.